The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I am a mayor, but I'm also a Christian. I pray for Donald Trump, his soul. He's lost. And that's why it's important that we help find a way to protect our democracy and our humanity. That's what I'm motivated by. Not some brittle, insecure human being who has expressed a degree of lawlessness that would make Vladimir Putin blush.
You said earlier that federal agents who violate your executive order would be committing a criminal offense. I want to hear more.
Civil.
Well, I want to hear more about that. Do you think that they should be charged with a crime? How would enforcement on that work for the criminal component?
They should be charged with a crime because it is a crime.
By who?
By the entity that they're violating, the city of Chicago. It's a crime. Here's the thing. Anyone who commits a crime should be charged. I mean, isn't that the basic rule of what they ostensibly refer to as law and order? How do you expect people to respect your ability to carry out law and order if you don't follow it yourself?
So do you want the state's attorney to charge them?
I'm saying that they should be held accountable.
Welcome, my friends, to the Wednesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Brandon Johnson claiming, and I don't usually, well, he claimed what he claimed about his faith, and I'm not going to question him on his faith, on matters of faith, and then proceeded to lob insults, of course, that must be informed by something, and asked how he's going to prosecute these no ICE zones that he set up. You hear this non-answer. They have no plans. He has no clue. Who is going to actually arrest ICE agents for coming into an area that Brandon Johnson says is not permissible for them to come into? Who? Ask the question, no answer. Just a bunch of psychobabble. Oh, my friends. By the way, if you happen to be one of the 6 million people on Snap, crackle pop. If you are one of the 6 million people on Snap, just because the government shut down doesn't mean, why are you looking at me like that, Carlos?
What's Snap?
Oh, Snap. Oh, Snap. Food stamps, bro. We used to call them food stamps. They had to come up with a nice name for it so that it doesn't sound like food stamps. So they came up with SNAP, the Supplement Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP, without the crackle and without the pop. The federal government may be shut down, but if you are on SNAP, the cost of living adjustments, which are made to the program, are going to happen in October anyway. They started October 1st. And so if you are on SNAP, you are going to receive an increase if you live in most locales that get SNAP. But there are complaints. The Hill story on SNAP says that most, however, beneficiaries will only receive $6 more a month. They're only going to get $6 a month or more. Only. A family of 4 is going to get 19 more. Only 19, only $20 almost a month more. Only. That's less than a 2% increase. Even though the cost of groceries has risen by closer to 3% last year. Who was in office last year? That would be Joe Biden. Now, if you get SNAP and you're in Hawaii, if you're in the Virgin Islands, and you're not going to get any increase. In fact, you're going to get less if you live in the Virgin Islands, and wait till they hear about that. People are not going to be happy. $34 less if you live in Hawaii, $24 less a month for your SNAP bennies if you are in the Virgin Islands. That's just not going to go over well. And there are going to be changes that people can't see. Their work requirements. Let's see how that plays out. And there's some question as to whether some illegal immigrants are still going to be able to get their SNAP benefits. I'll have to dig into that aspect of it. The page cut off before I could see where it was. I thought I printed the whole thing. I'll have to go look for more. Anyway, also in the news this afternoon. Oh, we got plenty. You heard Brandon Johnson. He and Pritzker are still having cows over everything, and there's so much more. Oh, did you hear that? Did you know that Carlos, your senior senator, Chuck Schumer, had dropped the F-bomb in a video. Yeah, he's ticked. He's mad. Why are you doing the crazy sign?
KOC is coming for his place, and he knows it, and he started trembling, pretty much,
Carlos again with political analysis. When Carlos first started, I got to tell you, and I'm not saying this in a mean way, Carlos didn't really pay that much attention to politics. He was like, whatever. Carlos is becoming a political analyst. And what did you say was happening with Chuck Schumer now? What did you say?
AOC is coming for his place.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so Chuck Schumer, I don't think we're going to play the whole thing. It's boring anyway. But it's almost 3 minutes, and really 3 minutes of Chuck Schumer, it's a lot. But let's start anyway and just give you a little bit of Chuck. He delivers the F-bomb early on so he can hopefully captivate people's attention.
So now we're in a government shutdown. And you may be asking yourself,
we are.
How the hell did we get here? Donald Trump and the Republican Party are hell-bent on taking health care away from 60 million people, closing community clinics, rural hospitals, nursing homes, all so they can keep giving tax breaks to their billionaire friends. It's a disgrace. So Democrats have 3 words for this. No way. It's literally life or death. We will not let Republicans blow up our healthcare system. And this isn't the first time they've tried to do this.
Total repeal of the Obamacare bill.
Or the second.
Repeal of Obamacare.
Or even the third. You get the point. If Republicans are consistent about anything, it's about taking away health care from as many of you as possible. Let's dive into the facts. The so-called big, beautiful bill, which is really a big, ugly betrayal, cuts $1 trillion from health care and causes the ACA credits to expire. Insurance premiums will go up 93%. As a result, 22 million people pay more, 4 million lose coverage altogether, and even if you don't have ACA, your premiums are going up also. What does it mean in New York? $2,500 increase for those on ACA. Working families.
All right, stop it. Wait a minute. Stop it right there. Who started this ACA business? That was your guy, Obama. We all said on our side, you know what? If you do this, the cost of health care is not going to come down. It's going to rise. How did it rise to the level that they're talking about now? Well, back in the COVID days, while they were tossing out, while they were trying to print up and hand out create as much money as they can to pass around to people, Congress said, okay, let's throw some money at Obamacare. And they did. But they said, we're not going to do it forever. It's going to expire in 2025. What year is it? It's 2025. It's set to expire. So Democrats play this shell game all the time. They front load something and they say, okay, we're only going to do it for a little while. That's the guarantee when they pass it. And then when it's time for it to go away, then Republicans are going to take it away from you. Republicans. This is what Democrats voted for. They voted to make it expire in 2025. And now it's expiring. Obamacare, and I could spend ages on this, was a show game from the beginning. However, that is not stopping some Republicans. You may have heard MTG is having a cow about it. There's a Big Hill article today, and Democrats have been, for it, hard to believe, some Democrats have actually been praising Marjorie Taylor Greene. Because I'm absolutely disgusted that health insurance premiums will double if the tax credits expire this year. Also, I think health insurance and all insurance is a scam. Just be clear. Not a single Republican in leadership talked to us about this or has given us a plan to help Americans deal with their health insurance premiums doubling. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is pretty much, hold on a second, let me just read this. Mr. Mike sends something. When Mr. Mike sends me something, I have to, Mr. Mike, most famous broadcast engineer in the world, Carlos. Yeah. When Mr. Mike sends me something, he's talking about Schumer. And he says, let's see what he says about Schumer. He said, this dude can't even use an F-bomb the right way. He sounds like he's reading it from a script. Yes! Because he is reading it. I wonder if they put the full word in there or whether they said F word. Yes. Let's play just that part again. Chuck U and his announcement. He gets to it really soon.
So now we're in a government shutdown. And you may be asking yourself, how the hell did we get here? Donald Trump and the Republican Party are hell-bent on taking health care away from 60 million people. Closing community clinics, rural hospitals, nursing homes, all so they can keep giving tax breaks to their billionaire friends. It's a disgrace. So Democrats have 3 words for this. No way. It's...
All right. Thank you, Chuck. No. Boy, it must have taken... Anyway. I wonder what some of you... I can't wait. Maybe... Dare I ask Princess Diana what she thinks of MTG? I wonder if she'll just oh, James, why are you even asking me? Don't bother me with this. I wonder if that's what... I analyze things that are serious. I wonder if that would be her response. But MTG is letting the Republicans have it on this. It's the Republicans' fault. Republican leadership didn't tell her that the Obama tax credits that the Democrats forced in were going to go and now that is said to be, this MTG thing is said to be now a big problem for Republicans because what we're supposedly seeing is a slow breakup between the GOP and the loudest voices that help them build their brand. Marjorie Taylor, be nice. I'm going to take a quick break here. The voices that help them build their brand. James Golden and Snerdley, keep it right here. Do not go away fast this hour in American media.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have been following a text thread from Her Highness, Princess Di, and one of her ladies in waiting, Lady Benedict, about apparently there was a big to-do on, I guess, somewhere in the Capitol between Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Lawler. And it goes over 4 minutes. And we haven't screened it. I don't know whether there's any profanity in this thing or not. But do we feel safe and just go ahead and just listen to some of it together as much as we can stand? Let's try it. Let's see what we come up with. Hakeem Jeffries and Mike
We got a
Wallace.
1-year extension. Why don't we sign on right now?
Let me ask you a question. Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend
did your
the
boss,
ACA
Did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to
Let me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did you
I
vote to shut
Let
it
me
down?
ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could easily sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing yourself right now.
You could sign on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an embarrassment.
You could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me ask you a
Why won't
question.
sign on
Let me ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a clean
Let me
extension
ask you a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one big
Clean
ugly bill,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a tax cut bill that gave the largest tax cut to Americans in history, including, by the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
Do you want to cut the standard deduction in half?
The
Is
largest
that what you
cut
wanted
to
do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
rooted
history.
out
You
waste,
voted for that.
fraud, and abuse, by the
You
way.
voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic
permanent-
controller of New York,
Let me ask you a question.
pointed out that $1.2 billion were wasted.
Listen, you're not going to talk. You're not going to talk to me. You're not going to talk to me and talk over me
non-New York residents
because you don't want to
getting
hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm listening.
So why don't
Go
you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
because you
is
showed
that-
up.
is that the way to
you
talk?
showed up. You showed up.
Yeah.
And so you voted for this one
I
big
signed
ugly
on
bill.
to this. You can extend it right
A
now.
permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of Americans.
So they can get a permanent extension.
90% of Americans
but working
take the
class
standard
Americans
deduction.
can't? Is that right?
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
Okay, we got it. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing yourself. Let me ask you a question. 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 Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries, there's your leader for you. Okay, we'll be back. We have some other stuff, including, well, we got to move out to the West Coast, too, for that story.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Good morning. I'm Bill Asaley, the acting United States Attorney for the Central District of California. Today, we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades earlier this year, killing 12 people, destroying more than 6,800 structures, both homes and businesses, and damaging over 1,000 more buildings. The complaint unsealed today charges the defendant with destruction of property by means of fire, a felony that carries a mandatory minimum 5-year federal prison sentence and is punishable by up to 20 years in federal prison. The defendant was arrested yesterday on a federal criminal complaint near his Florida residence, and he's expected to make his initial appearance today in the federal court in Orlando, Florida. I stress that the complaint contains allegations and every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Yeah, he went through to describe some of the evidence. A Florida man, when you see that leading the headline, 9 times out of 10 what follows is not good. A Florida man. Now, there is this, but I wonder if they're going to do a rewrite. I have a story here from the time I went back and I dug it out. Here's a headline from Axios. LA wildfires sparked by rare collision of climate factors. Really? Flames. There's a photo. Flames from the Palisade burn a car and homes during a powerful windstorm this morning. The big picture. The wildfires are the result of an unheard of combination of factors at this time of year. The worst high wind event in Southern California since 2011, plus some of the driest conditions on record for early January. And they go through it and do it. Context. Climate change is intensifying hydroclimate extremes, both wet and dry, including weather whiplash events where California seesaws between the two. With dry conditions lasting later into the fall, that means Southern California is more vulnerable to dry, high wind events. Blah, 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 blah. I had another one video. I just didn't want to play it. of two scientists. The only reason I didn't bring it in is because I couldn't verify. The caption on it said that they are NASA scientists, and I couldn't verify that they were, but they were crying during the time about how no one listens to the scientists, and they've been warning that climate change was going to do all, and climate change this, and climate change that, and the fires, and nobody's listening to the scientists. It turns out the story is a Florida man. A Florida man. So I would just like to see where all this is going, if indeed this Florida man turns out to be guilty. And the long and short of it is that he started a fire intentionally. That fire was smothered, but it was still burning underground. And that's what led in the root system of the vegetation there. And then it erupted, and that's what became the Palisades fire. Okay, a few other things. We talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Princess Diana did send me a response. She said that she doesn't really have that much to add on MTG other than that she's been a thorn in Trump's side for a while, ever since she blindsided Trump with the Fuentes meeting. She went all Epstein, and now this. New Republic has an article. What's going on with Marjorie? Trump stunned by MTG's flip. NBC has a news story. Once a loyal foot soldier for Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene is increasingly bucking her party. I will say, in all fairness, the point she's did not quite make is a point that I have made very openly, that I think it is a disaster for a Republican Party to pretend that all is well with Obamacare and not have a replacement plan for how America should deal with its health care. And let's face facts, folks, America's health care system is broken. I'm not one of these guys that just wants to march off and whine about insurance companies, but can we be honest? And Marjorie did make a point about insurance companies. These insurance companies have gotten fantastically wealthy and huge, and a lot of it is to these mandates that have come in from not just Obamacare, but we all heard about, well, some of us heard if you listen here, the mandates that led insurance companies to get involved with funding the illegal immigrant population and, by extension, hospitals making profits off the illegals, which is why they want it to continue. Insurance companies getting their wallets fat on it. They want it to continue. America's healthcare situation was exacerbated by the so-called Affordable Care Act. It has gotten worse. It is getting worse. And the care for Americans, their freedoms when it comes to health care have been vanishing. Now, am I blaming Donald Trump for that? No. That to me has nothing to do with this shutdown. The reasons for the shutdown, Democrats hate Trump. That's the biggest reason for the shutdown. Democrats hate Donald Trump. And they need to look tough with midterm elections coming and with Chuck Schumer looking across and seeing AOC always nipping at his ankle, biting him. That's why we're in a shutdown. And they wanted to pick a fight on this. I don't see what the exit strategy is for them. Because Republicans had better not cave, and that means at some point Republicans, if they hold the line, are going to force Democrats to cave. Or neither side caves, and this thing goes to be the longest extended shutdown. We're at 8 days already. And people are going to start feeling the effects of it. I'm waiting for those layoffs, by the way. Anyway, moving on. Former Republican governors air their concerns about Trump's National Guard moves. Well, what is this? This is from NBC. As President Trump clashes with Democrat governors over his push to deploy federalized national troops to their cities, several former Republican governors are raising concerns about strong-arm tactics and constitutional crises, while also noting the president has a wide latitude to deploy the... Well, who would these be? Who would these Republican governors be? There are 3 of them. They're kind of like the I trees, except they can't sing. You don't know. Who are the I trees, Carlos? The I threes. I just say it that way because it's like the I trees.
I got no idea.
The Bob Marley's backing. His background vocal. They call themselves the I threes, the I trees. Anyway, I'll tell you who these political I trees are. Former New Jersey Governor Christy Todd Whitman. Well, gee whiz, critical of Trump, who left the party in 2022. So, by the way, why do we care what Christy Todd Whitman thinks about anything? She says it's stoking resentment and fanning the flames. But as a governor, there's nothing you can really do to stop the president from federalizing the Guard. This is infuriating. She says it's infuriating. It's stoking resentment. And then guess who else? Former Ohio Governor John Kasich, whose daddy was a milkman. I would say, here are my problems. What can you do to help me? Work with me. Don't just shove stuff down my throat, said Kasich, a Republican who ran against Trump in the 2016 presidential primaries and did not get I think he got 1 vote or something like that. And then after he got the 1 vote, they had like a balloon drop for him, and he was like luxuriating in it. It was the most idiotic thing politically, one of the most idiotic things I've ever seen. And who's the other one? You have to search the article to find the other one. And the other one is former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who he says he wants to make sure that you know, though, he's not really criticizing Trump. This is not personal. It's just analysis. I think it's a real constitutional dilemma that is unprecedented and will have to be resolved by the U.S. Supreme Court. It's difficult for the courts to step in and say, we're going to override the executive branch, he added. And he noted that he approved the deployment of the Arkansas National Guard to D.C. to protect federal assets in January 2021 after the January 6th attack. Not precious. And he then went back to Ike's days and noted that Ike called out the National Guard, the 101st Airborne, to Arkansas to enforce integration. That's when Democrats were doing their best to make sure that black kids couldn't go to school with white kids. That's what happened, Carlos. American history. Look it up. The Democrat Party, the party of Jim Crow. The Democrats tried to keep black kids from going to schools. Republican president at the time, Dwight D. Eisenhower, this is what sparked the civil rights movement, sent the National Guard to Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, Bill Clinton land. And by the way, Bill Clinton's mentor was one of those ardent segregationists. And in the Democrat Party, they all were. George Wallace, segregation, nah. Segregation, Democrat. Lester Maddox, Democrat. All of them. I'm teaching you some history here. Democrats have always been the party that has been oppressing black people in America since slavery times. That's how far it goes back. Woodrow Wilson, the guy that brought segregation back. He's a progressive that brought segregation back to the federal government. Anyway, So, you have Hutchison. Now, here's the thing that none of these people are talking about. All this business, constitutional crisis. Oh, it's fanning tensions. California and other Democrat states began this crisis of constitutional nature when they said, screw American law. They put their middle finger up and told the federal government to take a hike. We're going to put illegal immigrants in these, and we don't give a rat's you-know-what, SHI and every other thing that you can think of. We don't care what you think. We are going to make illegality legal in our states and screw the federal law. Screw you. And there has been no president, no Republican president with enough gonads to take these people on until Donald Trump. And he's doing it now. And is it ugly? Yes. Are they demanding people fight in the streets so that they can hold on to their illegal immigration? Yes. And they're holding on to illegal immigration because it gives them the population that helps them get more political seats. And everybody knows it. The constitutional crisis was engaged decades ago. Donald Trump is the only one that has the onions to take it up with these people. And then you have these mealy-mouthed, timid, rat-faced, fake Republicans who can't even just say the truth. This country has been in a constitutional crisis. And Donald Trump is trying to get us out of it. I'm sorry for losing my temper, folks. We have to take a break. These people make me sick. They literally make me sick. And I don't like name calling. And I didn't call any of them personal names, but that's the way I feel about that ilk of Republicans. Cowards, political cowards. And they'd rather just look good in the press and have a few writing nice things about them than actually do the hard work that Donald Trump is doing to try to restore constitutional order to this country. We got to go. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know what? It's also Teddy Riley's birthday today, a producer, songwriter, worked with so many great artists like Michael, Bobby Brown, Heavy D, Du Bois, Keith Sweat, High Five. He is the guy that is credited for bringing in New Jack Swing as a form, you know? So, and discovered Pharrell Williams. So happy birthday to the amazing Teddy Riley. You know, let me just say this. I'm still infuriated, people, with these Republicans criticizing Trump on this National Guard thing. The Democrats have openly defied the federal government now, going in for 3 decades. We have never had a Republican president strong enough, with enough willpower enough to say this is wrong, it needs to stop, and I'm going to stop it. And right now, in response to that, Democrats have mobilized their activists. They are on the streets fighting agents of the federal government. And the MSM, the mainstream media, seems to be siding with the activists. These federal agents are putting their lives at risk. And you have Republican governors too timid to even stand up for them and say, this is wrong. Democrats are openly calling for people to resist. Resist what? Resist law enforcement. In addition to that, today, Supreme Court listening to a case over mail-in votes in Illinois. Another one of these state sanctuary cities, where they now have destroyed the whole concept of election day. They want to accept ballots up to 2 weeks after an election. There's only one reason, and we all know what it is. Democrats have gotten away with that. Trump's the only one to stand up to it. He's the only one that's been able to stand up to academia. He's the only one that stood up to their media, not only took them to court, wrung money out of these biased, feckless, pretend journalists. Donald Trump has moved and is trying to fix this incredibly communist tilt to academia. He is doing so much that these feckless Republicans never had the courage to do, never had the intellectual honesty to pursue. And yet, you can understand why Democrats hate him. But for these Republicans to try to stand in his way and snark, every one of them needs to get lost. We're leaving with happy, because I want to be happy as we leave. With Pharrell, and again, a happy birthday to Telly Riley. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, always, for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we're back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I'll leave you with some happy vibes and thoughts. I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?